You know that feeling at the end of a really long day where you just like collapse, totally drained.
Hmm.
Now imagine feeling like that day after day, week after week. And the stakes aren't just being tired. They're potentially life and death.
Yeah, that's pretty much the reality for so many doctors today, isn't it? It's kind of shocking how normalized this state of exhaustion has become.
Absolutely. And that's what we're diving into today, this whole culture of overwork in medicine. Where did it even come from? What does it actually mean for doctors and, for all of us as patients?
Exactly, because it's not just about the doctor's well-being, though that's critical. It has a direct impact on the quality of care you receive. We're talking about a deep-seated issue here.
Right. And to really get our heads around it, we've looked at, well, a whole range of things: medical studies, reports from groups like the AMA, Medscape, the British Medical Association.
And news reports, too, giving that global picture.
Hmm.
Think about the UK strikes or that really worrying term, karoshi death from overwork in Japan.
Yeah. And analyses from healthcare organizations like Kaiser Family Foundation, Deloitte. It really paints a picture of a widespread problem.
So our goal here is basically to unpack how this dedication, this thing we admire in doctors, has somehow tipped over into something potentially dangerous. What does it mean for everyone? And crucially, are there, like, actual solutions?
Let's hope so. We found some pretty surprising stuff along the way.
Definitely concerning, yeah.
So, okay, let's start at the beginning. How does this culture even take root? It feels like it starts super early, like in medical school.
It really does. Almost from day one, there's this unspoken expectation. Sacrifice sleep, sacrifice your personal life. It's almost framed as
You
necessary.
hear stories, right? Professors almost glorifying pulling all-nighters, treating burnout like some kind of badge of honor.
Precisely. It's this warped logic where being utterly exhausted means you're trying hard enough. There's
Mm.
immense pressure to be perfect, constantly available. If you're not working all the time, you feel like you're falling short.
Mm-hmm. And then reality hits understaffed hospitals, patients constantly coming through the door. That AMA study from 2023.
Oh yeah, the one finding 63% of physicians working 51 to 70 hours a week.
Right. And many doing over 80 hours. It sounds less like a job and more like a, well, hostage situation
But
almost.
it's huge systemic pressure. And think about how that shapes someone. Imagine a student, let's call her Priya. She starts med school, sees everyone else pushing themselves to the limit. Here's the expectations.
She internalizes it.
Exactly. Late night studying turned into residency with, 80-hour weeks, constant overnight calls. That Medscape report from this year. 47% of residents reporting burnout symptoms. That's nearly half.
That's huge. And that term they use, depersonalization, it sounds chilling.
It is. It's when the exhaustion gets so bad that doctors start to feel detached. Patients become like tasks on a list rather than people needing care. It's a defense mechanism, but it's terrible for everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't just a U.S. problem, is it? You mentioned the global perspective.
Oh, definitely not. Look at doctor-to-patient ratios. India, for example, is way off the WHO recommendation, something like one doctor for every 1,445 people. Imagine that pressure.
Wow.
Even in places like the U.S., think about rural areas. One doctor covering a huge region. The workload is immense.
And layered on top of all that, you've got these cultural factors, right? This sort of doctor as God complex, or at least this immense societal pressure.
That's a really big part of it. Being a doctor comes with status, but also this expectation of constant self-sacrifice. Taking a vacation, how dare you? People are sick. There's this huge guilt factor.
Yeah, I can see how that would make it hard to step back. So this constant pressure, this overwork, it must take a massive toll on the doctors themselves. Let's talk about that impact.
The impact on their health is, well, it's severe. That Lancet study from 2022. Doctors working over 60 hours a week were 2.5 times more likely to suffer from depression or anxiety.
2.5 times.
And the suicide statistics are heartbreaking. Particularly in the U.S., rates are significantly higher than the general population. For female physicians, it's over twice as high. It's a crisis within a crisis.
That's just devastating. And it's not just mental health, right? There are physical consequences too.
Absolutely. Chronic sleep deprivation, which is basically the norm for many, has clear links to cardiovascular problems. A study just last year connected long hours to increased heart issues in doctors.
So they're looking after our hearts while potentially damaging their own.
Kind of ironic, isn't it? And then there's the cognitive function, making complex, high-stakes decisions when you're severely sleep-deprived. It's risky.
Which leads us straight into patient safety. This is where it gets really scary for everyone involved, doesn't it?
This is the critical connection. That BMJ meta-analysis from this year confirmed it. Sleep-deprived doctors make more errors. Misdiagnoses, wrong prescriptions.
It's like asking a pilot who hasn't slept to perform complex surgery. You just wouldn't want that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It underscores the danger of pushing people to these limits in such a critical field.
And you have to wonder, do patients notice this? Can you tell when your doctor is just running on empty?
Increasingly, yes. Patients report seeing doctors who look exhausted, who seem rushed, maybe less engaged during the appointment.
Yeah, that feeling of being just another number, another slot to get through before the next one.
And when a doctor is that drained, their ability to really listen, to show empathy, to pick up on subtle cues, it's compromised. That connection is so important.
And if appointments are rushed, things get missed, right? Symptoms overlooked, incorrect treatments.
That's the risk. That Kaiser Family Foundation survey last year found over half of patients felt rushed during appointments. That's not conducive to good health care.
No, definitely not. So this isn't just a local issue. It's happening everywhere. You mentioned the UK strikes.
Right, junior doctors striking over workload and pay, driven by safety concerns. And that BMA report saying 70% were considering leaving their profession last year. That tells you how bad it is.
70%. Wow. And Japan's karoshi.
Death by overwork. There was that tragic case in Tokyo. A doctor died after logging 200 hours of overtime in 1 month.
200 hours overtime. It's almost impossible to comprehend.
It's the extreme end, but it highlights the danger. And even in countries we think of as having good systems like Sweden or Canada, they still face immense pressure from underfunding and staffing shortages.
So it seems like this problem is everywhere, deeply embedded, which begs the question, why does it just continue? What's stopping real change?
Well, one major factor seems to be, perhaps unsurprisingly, economics. For hospitals, anyway.
Explain that.
Well, it can seem cheaper, in the short term, to hire fewer doctors and just maximize their hours. It looks better on the immediate balance sheet, even if it carries risks down the line.
So profitability versus safety and well-being.
It can often boil down to that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The cost of burnout and errors isn't always factored into those initial staffing decisions.
And then there's the weight of tradition, right? That we suffered, so you must too attitude.
Exactly. It's this inertia. People who went through the grueling training themselves sometimes perpetuate it. It's like continuing to use leeches because that's how it was always done, even when better methods exist. Change can be slow when the leadership came up through the old system.
Right. And the whole healthcare business model plays a role too.
Definitely. More patients seen, more procedures done, often means more revenue. While there are analyses, like that Deloitte one, showing potential savings from optimizing schedules and reducing burnout, the incentive structure often doesn't prioritize that shift. Overworked doctors, paradoxically, can sometimes drive higher billing.
It really feels like a tangled mess. But there must be ways out. Potential solutions, signs of hope.
There are. And that's important to focus on, too. Despite the challenges, people are pushing for change. One obvious area is regulating work hours.
Like the difference between the U.S. 80-hour limit for residents, which still sounds insane, and Europe's 48-hour directive.
Exactly. And crucially, studies show those reduced hours in Europe haven't led to worse patient outcomes. It proves it can be done differently.
So fewer hours is possible. What else? Staffing.
Absolutely key.
Yeah.
We need more doctors, yes, but also making better use of nurse practitioners, physician assistants, spreading the load. It requires investment, but the cost of not doing it, errors, burnout, doctors leaving, is arguably much higher.
Makes sense. And addressing the mental health toll more directly.
Critical. It needs to be more than just a hotline number. Think mandatory check-ins, easy access to therapy, creating a culture where it's okay, even encouraged, to seek help. Hey, maybe even those therapy dogs we hear about sometimes.
I like that idea. And changing things right back in medical school.
Fundamental shift needed there. Teaching self-care not as an afterthought, but as essential for being a good doctor. Showcasing role models who actually have work-life balance, like Dr. Atul Gawande, perhaps. The message needs to be, I took a nap and still saved lives.
Love that. I took a nap and still saved lives. What about technology? Can AI help?
There's potential there, for sure. AI could handle some routine tasks, data analysis, administrative stuff, freeing up doctors for complex patient interaction. And telemedicine can reduce travel and maybe make things more efficient in some cases.
So a mix of approaches. And can patients do anything?
Yeah, maybe small things. Being prepared for appointments, understanding your own health situation, maybe not making unnecessary demands on the system. Every little bit helps reduce the overall strain.
And are there positive examples happening now? You mentioned momentum.
There are. Pilot programs, like one in Sweden trying a 30-hour work week, reportedly without harming patient care, and grassroots movements like the Indian Medical Association's Doctors for Doctors campaign pushing for better conditions. So there is movement.
That's good to hear because
Yeah.
ultimately it comes back to this core problem that the level of overwork is just unsustainable and it's dangerous.
hmm And it affects absolutely everyone who uses the healthcare system.
So, the final thought to leave people with, maybe it's about the ethics. A system that prizes efficiency or tradition over the safety of patients and the well-being of its doctors.
Exactly. What's our collective responsibility here? As a society, do we have a role in demanding a healthier balance? It's something to really think about.
Definitely. It makes you reconsider your own experiences, doesn't it? And wonder how this hidden pressure might be affecting the care you get. And maybe, just maybe, think about what part we can play, however small, in supporting change.